Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie, here with my guy, Mr. Idris Salam, a.k.a. Bosco from the Bronx. I can really ask you how you're doing, Idris. I think it goes without saying that we're pretty disgusted in terms of what we've been enduring.
Yeah.
What seems to be a much longer season than it has been. We're, of course, talking about our team. We're going to let them wait their turn as we hit on that. Do want to make a big shout out, though, before we even start divulging into the events of yesterday's games. Big shout out, Antonio Pierce, former Giants great, former Super Bowl champion, part of the biggest upset in NFL history over the previously undefeated New England Patriots. He gets his first coaching win yesterday, and I just want to say that I am very proud of him.
Yeah, congrats.
Even though it came at our expense. A guy that I've always just truly respected on and off the field, a man's man on the football field, a real leader. And like anything else, I'm happy for him, man. I legitimately am. I really hope that if he does a good job, the Raiders are smart enough to learn from their past mistakes when they hired Rich Bisaccia.
Right.
And give AP a fair shake at keeping the job and not necessarily going for the next hot name, which the Raiders have been notoriously known for doing over the years.
Yeah, I agree because their history since 2000 is insane when it comes to coaches. And I think
It really is.
They've had 8 coaches in the past 10 years. I mean, that's insane. That's crazy.
You know? I mean, in a lot of metrics, an owner like the late Al Davis, which is also like kind of passed down to his younger son, who is currently running the squad. It's similar to the kind of impatience like a Jerry Jones, or if you flip it to baseball, like a George Steinberg. Owners who just don't. Nobody likes to lose, but these guys take losing in a different way.
Right.
And they're polarizing, and that's a big reason. Sometimes teams' mouthpieces are just as important as the dudes that actually get in the field of battle.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we have that problem too.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking forward to that part. It's the only thing. This is like my therapy this year when I get to talk about these guys. But we're going to start it up with a team looking to repeat this year. And I got to give you props, Idris.
Mm-hmm.
I was wrong. You called it. The Chiefs' defense for much of the game stifles the Dolphins' high-octane offense. They did get a fortunate bounce to avoid a disaster late in the game. Chiefs improved to 7-2 while the Dolphins dropped to, let me fix that, it's actually 6-3. My takeaways from this, you got to really tip your hat to what the Chiefs were able to do defensively. It's one thing to take advantage of some of Miami's weaknesses on their defense, because their defense is a good unit, but I wouldn't call them a great unit.
Yeah.
And, when you're up 3 touchdowns, it means that you're not just having clock-consuming drives. You're also getting that team off the field and making everything difficult, which they did.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a valiant effort by Tua Tagovailoa. I did like the way Raheem Mostert was running. I thought he ran hard. And I'll be honest, the Dolphins were incredibly close to coming all the way back and potentially forcing an overtime.
Yeah, I think I think Mostert needs to work on his ball handling because he's fumbling the ball a lot.
Yes, he's another beneficiary. They both caught a break because the Chiefs fumbled late. They recovered it.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins did the same thing, and I believe it was Tyreek Hill that scooped it up for him.
Mm-hmm. And with Kansas City, the defense is great. That's what I knew why I picked Kansas City, because of the defense. The Chiefs have to learn to put teams away. You're up 21-0. I think Andy Reid made some questionable calls, especially the 3rd and 1. He decided to go play action and pass the ball, and when you could have just ran Pacheco, right up the middle and got that 1 yard. I think they should have put that game away because Miami's the type of team that you got to get rid of. I saw a stat where Miami's in their wins, they're average 39 points. In their losses, 19 points or something like that. They hadn't been a winning team yet.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
You gave us a lopsided metric of what they look like when they lose versus what they look like when they win.
Well, it's against winning teams and losing teams, should I say?
So, in your opinion,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the difference in point differential,
Mm-hmm.
do you think it just has a lot to do with the fact that as good as their offense is,
Mm-hmm.
they're not responding as well to when they play elite defenses? Or do you think it's more based on the fact that a team like Buffalo, a team like the Eagles, in addition to scoring a decent amount of points against Miami, they also had the ability to keep their offense off the field and to kind of make the margin smaller? Because when you're sitting on the sideline and you finally get back out there, it does change the rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about TOP. It's also about changing the rhythm of when an offense finally gets back and tries to groove.
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. I think more of the latter because, when you have the other offense sitting on the sidelines, it's like you're anxious. Because when I used to box, I'm sitting there in the corner. I'm like, I'm ready to get back out there, especially if I know at the end of the round I had this guy on the ropes ready to get rid of him. I'm trying to, like, get back out there. So like I said, this guy's still dizzy. And I think it's the same thing. You keep that offense on the sideline and you're putting up points. Like, you go 21-0 at halftime. That means this team has to cut back on some part of their game to put more, attention on the other, like with the pass. They had to throw.
Right. It does eliminate some of your creativity when things get a little crazy. Fortunately for Miami, they are literally built to pass first and damn near pass always. I know Mike McDaniel has taken some pride in implementing Raheem Mostert and before the injury, Stefan Achan, because, a big calling card for some of his success in previous coaching stops was that he was able to implement the run.
Right.
And he has made a concerted effort because I remember you watch any of the shows last year, I was a stickler for that when it came to being like, yo, man, when you going to run the damn ball?
You know what's so funny about everything now? They had a big discussion about the start of the season about running backs not being paid, and the running backs had a little forum where they got together. If you look at it, you need a good running game.
Oh, it's still
you need a good running game.
It still wins. Star power guy like your household names, like the CMCs, like the Kamaras, like the Henrys, etc.
Yeah.
Isaiah Pacheco, not a lot of people were checking for him last year. He emerged in a big way during their Super Bowl run, and we have seen it over the course of the last few years with teams that are getting it done in January and February, hoisting Lombardi trophies. But I guess my takeaway here is I was wrong about the Chiefs not getting the dub. I do think that getting that humble pie experience in Mile High prevented a letdown here because they were probably primed and ready. As Miami goes, you make a good point that they have yet to beat a winning team or a team that's like legitimately good. But I will say this part. What the Dolphins do have going for them is they are undefeated at home. And I do believe that with the AFC being so tight and congested, I think it goes without saying that it's a must that the Miami Dolphins get home field advantage if they have intentions of representing that conference, because I do take to a level the fact that they haven't had success against a couple of heavy hitters like Philly, like KC. Buffalo really blow their doors off, but Buffalo is a bit of an odd team in their own right. Miami plays well at home, goes without saying. So I'm going to say this. The Miami Dolphins need to get home field advantage in order to represent the AFC, because I don't think the way that offense is built, they're going to be able to do it in the inclement weather when it gets cold and when it gets real.
Yeah, because it's cold. It's cold in Cincinnati. You got to echo over there.
Nah, you good.
I'm echoing in my headphones. It's cold in Cincinnati, Buffalo, and Kansas City. You need to run the ball. So we'll see what happens.
Not to mention a team even like Baltimore, even like Cleveland.
Baltimore.
You know what I'm saying? Like that.
All of them.
Like we're at the midway point, and the last place team versus the first place team in the AFC North, nobody knows yet, and that speaks volumes on how good that division is.
Yeah.
But on that note, we call this a segue, kids. We're going to talk about something that's not very good. First of all, I already said it at the top of the show. Big ups, Antonio Pierce. I am very proud of you, sir. Once a Giant, always a Giant. Want to make that clear. I'm happy for him.
Right.
Giants are now without quarterback Daniel Jones. In my opinion, was a self-inflicted knee injury, not using his cranium. New questions arise regarding any and all things related to this organization's future. And what I mean by that, I said it recently after the Jet loss. If Brian Dable loses this locker room, similar to the way that Ben McAdoo did back in 2017, similar to the way that Joe Judge did back in 2021, the Giants are going to be in a very unenviable position because they owe this man years. They're still paying Joe Judge. It's embarrassing if they don't even give him year 3. And I said it before. I think the one thing working for Coach Dable is that he legitimately really got the attention of the coaching world by not only winning Coach of the Year, by taking a very limited roster and winning a playoff game against one of the NFL's best teams in terms of record, that being the Minnesota Vikings. And granted, we did call the Vikings paper tigers more than a couple of times on last year's shows. But the bottom line is, when you win a road game, now it opens up the quarterback thing. It's like, is he turning the corner? I think most of us, when we saw free agent additions like a Burner, like a Paris Campbell, a draft pick like a Jalen Hyatt, a trade for a perennial Pro Bowler, although often injured, in the form of Darren Waller, and a hungry Saquon Barkley, I feel that it's been quite shocking. I don't think any of us in Giant Country were in denial about how difficult this year was going to be in terms of scheduling. But I don't think many of us had us pegged to lose rain-soaked game affairs because of piss-poor coaching. I don't think many of us thought that if you get a flag in the end zone as time expires, we're not going to bust one in. Sneaky G, who has a podcast, big-time Giants fan, I was listening to some of his stuff. I always like to listen to fellow podcasters and see what they're up to. I view it as a bigger community. I like to support everyone. And I noticed that one of his guests, I apologize for not remembering the gentleman's name, made a great point. He said what separates the Giants from 2-6 going into yesterday as opposed to 4-4 is 2 yards.
Pretty much.
But yesterday, I think it looked a lot further than 2 yards. I think this is the part where the injuries are piling. And I believe that it is what it is, dude. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think the New York Football Giants are in tank mode right now because they know what they stand to gain in this year's draft, not to mention that you're getting a decent return for one of my favorite Giants that we recently traded, Mr. Leonard Williams.
Yeah, I agree. As much as I hate to say tank, I think we're at that point. Jones is gone. Taylor's hurt. DeVito. He never had the reps. Not ready.
And I'm not trying to be a jerk.
It's
but
crazy.
DeVito is the perfect guy right now if you have aspirations of getting a top 2 or 3 pick. And because quite frankly, bro, there is a distinct possibility that the Giants might not win another game this year.
Possibility. I think with Dable, I think he'll get a third year, mainly because no Shane. Also, the injuries on the line. I think he'll look at the line was hurt. We're missing number one and number two quarterbacks. Let me give him another year with a healthy team. But I think we have to go for. I hate it because we got Jones on the books. I know we got one more year with him, and then we get out the contract. But I think we have to look for a quarterback.
I think the best case scenario for a while. I think best case scenario for Giant fans, it's not just a quarterback we need. I think it goes without saying that we need a right tackle.
Yeah.
I think it would behoove the Giants to explore the option of also thinking about getting a pass rusher to replace Azeez Ojulari. I'm not saying Ojulari doesn't have a future, but the reality is you can't bank on him being on the field.
Right. Can't get on the field, man.
Darren Waller, guy that I respect, it's starting to feel like the Raiders might have got the best of that trade, given that the man, who I do respect him very much so, is playing with that bad hammy it's an old injury from previous seasons, and it's a worry. It's a worry. Tight ends are very important in this league, and when you got a good one, you need them on the field. But to your point about the O-line, it has been an utter car wreck all year. But when you reinsert a couple of guys that came back yesterday, and they actually looked worse than they did a week earlier against a better defense, that's disturbing too.
Yeah,
it's bad.
Our assists
like
it's like we're cursed. I mean, I know we're not, but it's like that
because
when you think things are going right, they go wrong. If it's not,
I've even seen amongst the fan base people calling for the head of the strength and conditioning coach because of all the injuries, and it's like anything else, dude.
Mhm.
We saw the New York Jets lose quite a few people.
Right.
We've seen other teams overcome a lot of deficits, and we're going to speak on some of those as we move it along, but this is where I'm at with this. Sometimes you got to break something down before you could build it back up. And while I was very encouraged and somewhat disillusioned after last year's Giants 9-win season along with a playoff victory, the reality is that in the history of the NFL, no team prior to last year has ever made a playoff and also won a playoff game with only one divisional win.
Right.
That was uncanny. With the new 17-game slate, with the new invites of having an extra wild card, and with playing last year a very porous AFC South, which by the way is better this year. Last year, not so much. The Giants were able to get 4 victories against that division. They did beat a good Baltimore team on a late strip sack by Kayvon. We won a 50-50 game in London against the Packers. We won a 50-50 game in D.C. on a controversial non-call. So when you add it all up, it's a very real reminder that the difference between being a 10 or 9 win team or being a 5 and 6 win team is truly a few plays.
It is.
And when I alluded to Sneaky G's podcast, his guest basically alluded to that very real measure that you take the quarterback sneak that got all screwy with the audible run to Saquon or Waller not getting the call, but I ain't gonna bitch about no refs. That's on us. Or taking 3 as opposed to trying to grab a yard with the bell cow Barkley.
Yeah.
These are things that change seasons, and sometimes it literally does come down to a couple of yards.
The way I look at it. I'm no coach. I've never coached before. But when you don't have anything to lose, you got everything. You
to gain.
You got to go get those yards. Go get them. If you're 1-15, you got one game left. It's 4th and 1. You got to go.
We saw Lovey stick it to everybody last year, and I admired that about him because at the end of the day, no matter what Lovey got into, as kind of like almost like a babysitter, so to speak, he said, "The hell with y'all. I'm still a coach."
Right.
And we're going to keep it in MetLife for a moment here. Tonight, we've got the New York Jets hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. I got to admit, this is a tough game to call because of the fact that nobody's going to question how good the Jets offense is.
Right.
But the Jets defense.
The defense. Yeah.
But the Jets offense with Zach Wilson, while at times they look functional, more times than not, they look like as long as they can get a little bit of a lead, they're going to be able to bully you and they're going to be able to grit out those kind of games until number 8 comes back.
Right.
Which I do think is a very real possibility. This is a team that has a chance at playoffs. As the Chargers go, talent galore. I won't question that. But in a game like this in prime time in the Jets' house, I gotta go with the team with the good defense here. I said it on a previous show. I'm gonna give the viewers a reminder. I got the Jets winning this thing rather close. I'm gonna go 19-17 Jets. I do think the Chargers are going to play a decent amount of defense in their own right, but there's a couple of variables here. Number one, I trust a good offense against a team that has a good defense against a team that has a potentially good offense. That's number one. And number two, Robert Saleh, yes, that guy, is the best coach in MetLife, and he's also going to be the best coach tonight in that particular game.
I go with I'm 100% with you. I'm going 21-17. Like I said, I've been saying since day one, I'm not sold on Justin Herbert. You know,
you've been adamant about that. And you are looking somewhat right on some of your takes there.
Yeah, good quarterback. He's great. But he makes those mistakes. And he can run the ball. He doesn't run like he should, or like he could. I think defense wins championships, and it'll always be that way. And this team is showing just like the 2000 Ravens. We can do it on defense. As a quarterback, don't lose it for us. Just guide the team. And Zach Wilson, I saw in some of these games when he played the game. His game is pretty good. He's not making those dumb mistakes he was making early on. He's not throwing the big passes, but thinking and dunking, running when you have to run, not turn the ball over big time. So I think that's going to be the defense. I mean, a difference. Yeah, 21-17. Jets.
Yeah, Jets have a certain grittiness that doesn't always make stat sheets, but I got to admit, and it's not the easiest thing for me to admit because obviously you know who I support. But I am not going to be a hypocrite, and I'm not going to ignore the things that I'm seeing on the eye test and just having a football acumen. The New York Jets have a lot of heart, and I have a lot of respect for those guys, and I just want to make that clear.
Me too.
Same here.
There go those men again. Oh, boy. The referees throw many a questionable flag overshadowing true NFC East classic between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. Philly was the home team. Why the rematch will be even better. Dallas tight end, damn near catching a touchdown pass. He was tackled before the ball got there. And while they did get it right that the ball did not cross the plane, the thing that really cracked me up on that is that you got to show this on that NBC See It vibe where everybody's looking at the play. Actually, this game was on Fox. And it's like you've seen the replay about 12 times. And the only thing that anyone's speaking about is that the ball didn't cross the plane. Now, if I'm a Cowboy fan, I don't got no damn horse in the race here. I'm livid that my man got tackled before the ball got there because I don't give two shits about if he broke the plane or not. If they throw the flag, that's a first down.
However, look at that screenshot of that play again. What people are missing is the Dallas offensive lineman is holding the defensive lineman just like this, right there. I mean, literally holding him.
And I get that.
Dallas has a beat. They have a beat. But I'm just saying, you know, like they'll be like, well, what about this? You know how I'm just playing devil.
No, I get it, but I almost feel like to a level in today's NFL,
the officiation is bad.
In crunch time, I legitimately feel that they swallow the whistle on offensive holding because keep it real, if they called holding consistently, the flags they wouldn't have enough flags to throw.
I think all trash talk aside, I think they missed some critical calls, like hold on, Micah Parsons. Like I said, the touchdown.
I counted 5 at the end. I counted 5 at the end at different junctures. 2 that should have benefited the Eagles and 3 that should have benefited the Cowboys. When CeeDee Lamb's out of bounds and a dude is literally tackling him right in front of the referee and CeeDee's like, oh, where's the flag? CeeDee Lamb is a superstar in this league. He should get that call. I will say this. The roughing the passer on Hassan Reddick, that was a bad call. But Dak, to his credit, sold it well.
He sold it well.
He sold it well. And Hassan immediately tried to pick him up. Like you can tell there was no malcontent or trying to hurt a man. But the reality is that the officiating in a game that means so much with 2 very good football programs, and as I keep stating, I had no dog in the race. I wanted to see a good game, and I did.
It was a good game.
But my instant takeaway is this. It's not often that I watch a Dallas Cowboys game, and I know Stephen A. will have his fun, and he don't know shit about football with all due respect. I know Stephen A. is going to have his fun today.
Yeah.
But if I'm a Cowboy fan today, I'm waking up kind of poking my chest out a little and having my chin up high because I believe that even in defeat, Dak Prescott played a very good game yesterday. And were it not for a couple of questionable calls, I actually think the Cowboys would have won this game.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But the reason my only disagreeing part is in 3 games Dak had the ball in the final drive and couldn't get it done. You know, one time he threw an interception, another time with the Frisco, so what happened, two of them. And then this one down there, you throw a pass 2 yards short of the end zone.
I'll be honest, in coverage. There was nowhere to go past that point on the field. Because you had it almost looked like the Macy's Day Parade with all them green jerseys.
Yeah.
You had nowhere to go up top. I think the hope was maybe CD catches it and makes some kind of football move. Because we saw it in Jacksonville, bro, right in front of us.
Yeah.
Where it looked like we had a white wall trying to hold up the I think Jaguars were in black that day, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, black.
And they were basically trying to hold up. And that was a nail biter because we talk about inches and yards earlier in the show. Jacksonville out-muscles us on that play. We're not in the playoffs last year.
The reason I'm being critical about it is because, and I know Dallas fans come for me, but this is always what they say. Stats. Wins. What's stats? Wins and wins. What counts more? And they say, a person's clutch. Okay. They're quick. And I'm not coming at Cowboy fans maliciously because there's some knowledgeable ones, but a lot of them are quarterback didn't get it done. Dak does this. I'm like, you got the ball in your hand. Win the game for him. I mean, he played a great game. But I always say,
remember last year on Christmas when the Vikings beat us and it was somewhat of a heartbreaker? Mm-hmm. But how we felt real good, real good, like we know we're going to get them next time. In my opinion, and I could be wrong, they still got to go to Big D. Yep. I have a feeling, and even with the win, the disparity in the standings is not that huge. I have a feeling the Eagles. This is, by the way, guys, this is only the Eagles. This is the first conference loss for the Eagles. For the Cowboys. Actually. No, I take that back. The Eagles are sitting on 1 conference loss. Actually, Dallas has to win the rematch. The Eagles' only loss is to the New York Jets. Like of a substantiality is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like in terms of the actual conference itself, the Eagles are sitting pretty, not just in the division. But what I saw, in my opinion, is that if they play 4 more quarters, if that game's in Dallas, I have a feeling the Cowboys are going to win the rematch, and it might actually bode well down the stretch. The Eagles do have the sweep over Washington, which is super beneficial for them as well. And I think it's safe to say that anybody in our division that sees the Giants could go like that. Because the Giants are primed to have another season with only 1 divisional win. They already got it.
We'll be watching that again.
We always do.
Of course we do. We're fans.
Sorry, myself feel good.
Ravens, Bengals, Browns, and Steelers continue to make honest case as to why the AFC North is the deepest and best division in the NFL right now. Browns making light work of a very bad Cardinals team. Pittsburgh Steelers got it done in a very physical game on Thursday to open the week. Cincinnati Bengals still got Buffalo's number in a very emotional night out there. The Damar Hamlin return. That in itself is the story of the game. The Bengals did win. Baltimore Ravens, and this is a team we've been critical about. Which version is going to show up? But this version that I saw yesterday is the same version that beat down the Detroit Lions with a sledgehammer. Yesterday, they did it to a very talented Seattle Seahawks team. 49er fans got to be feeling good. They're back in first place, and they didn't have to play a game.
Yeah. They look good. OBJ Butterfingers again. The ball.
Yeah, OBJ, I think he's trying to labor through some naggers of injuries.
Yeah.
He definitely has some nagging injuries, whether it be the inner thigh, whether it's still the reconstructed knees. But the nagging injuries for OBJ, I definitely think have been annoying him. And I think at this juncture, he went there knowing that he's not going to be a 2K man. But I think he knows that this is a legitimate good chance to have moments of greatness in certain variables, but more importantly, win a Super Bowl. In that regard, I think OBJ has matured a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like what Lamar Jackson's doing, throwing in past the ball. He's not taking the big hits, playing smarter. You know, I like this team. Man. They were saying how season end of the day, the whole division the playoffs. They're what we were last year.
It's pretty remarkable. Yeah, the NFC East was close to doing that too before Riverboat Ron forgot that how many games were left in the season, and he pulled the Donovan McNabb thing with how's a tie? What happens with a tie?
Yeah.
Do we
Yeah,
he thought he was back in college or high school or something. Yeah. At any rate, out of these 4 teams right now, Idris, they all bring a value and a credible argument as to why they're going to win this division. We are going into week 10, which is essentially the halfway point because the season goes 18 weeks now. Who do you got coming out of this division as of right now? And I guess it's a two-parted question. Are they all going to get in?
Do I think they'll all get in? I think it's a good possibility. I think more than likely. Because the AFC East, they might just get one team away.
Somebody good is going to be staying home this year, and I'm going to say this in advance. The Buffalo Bills better be careful.
Yeah, as for who's coming out of this division, I'm going to have to go Ravens, Bengals. I think the Browns can, but Deshaun Washington can't stay healthy.
No.
Kenny Pickett, what are you going to do, man? So I'm going Ravens, Bengals. But I think I'm 51-49 on the division, whole division getting in.
I'm going to say that the 3 are going to get in. Ultimately, even though things are looking good right now for everybody, I think the Browns are going to be the ones that sit out. And I think you're going to see the Baltimore Ravens win this division. I think Cincinnati's going to be a very strong wild card. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though their offense is not much better than the Patriots nor the Giants, they have a certain grittiness to them that finds way to win games that are not going ideally. And it's a mental toughness that is attributed to their coach, Mr. Mike Tomlin. That is one of the most prepared people in this league. And no offense to Stefanski and what they got going on in Cleveland, I view Mike Tomlin as the king of this division, no matter who's in first or no matter what. And I'll tell you what, bro. When we talk about competent coaching, every coach in this division is really good.
Yeah.
Zach Taylor's good. Harbaugh's good. I just mentioned the Browns. We know what Tomlin brings to the table.
Yeah.
Tomlin coaches in an era where you also have Andy Reid and Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think he gets a little overlooked of how damn consistent he is.
Yeah. You need good coaching, man. And it's showing because he got a team that it looked like garbage one week, and they look good and they look great. But either way, they're winning.
It reminds me of that era in Steelers football, going back to kind of like the Neil O'Donnell era. Yeah. This is going back to Coach Cowher, where they had the likes of Barry Foster, they had Levon Kirkland, Kevin Green, Greg Lloyd, those guys, where they were flirting with winning a conference championship, and they were flirting with being a Super Bowl team, and it was like the resurgence of the Steel Curtain.
Yeah.
But man, on offense, at times things were crazy. This is the kind of team that was built to win a game 6-5.
Yeah.
It ain't even like that off the table. Being honest.
Yeah.
And Cowher earlier in the year was actually clowning himself about being this far removed from being a coach and settling in very well as a member of the CBS crew.
Yeah.
And he was just saying, man, back then, I literally felt like we were playing backyard ball. I just knew that I trusted my defense so much that I never got down on the OC. I never got down on the QB. I kept them confident because I knew at some point they were going to make the play we needed. Yeah. But, you said it before on shows, man. The Steelers have a great lineage and a great stability of always hiring the right man for the job.
3 coaches
since Super Bowl.
It's pretty remarkable. You got Noel, you got Cowher,
You got
Tom.
currently Tomlin. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Josh Dobbs, man, showing true grit and resilience as he wins a big game in Vikings debut. We talk about how important this particular game was going into the week. 2 500 teams. Two teams that winning their particular divisions are not out of the question. Of course, Atlanta has a little easier path to win the South than the Vikings do in the North. But, this is a Vikings team, bro. Now, when you really think about it, last year we were getting on their ass because they were 13-4, but we felt they were like one of the most lucky teams ever.
Yeah.
This year, they haven't been that lucky. But one thing that I give them props for this year that I wouldn't have given them for last year, this team has overcome an 0-3 start.
They're finishing
game.
This team is 5-1 since starting off 0-3. That's a hell of an accomplishment. And, you got to give credit. And they've done it for the most part without Justin Jefferson during this juncture. The defense is starting to get an identity.
Mm-hmm.
And now you bring in a legitimate fighter in the form of Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs replaces an injured quarterback who shares a lot of the same character attributes to him.
You know what's funny about it? He took over for a quarterback in Arizona who tore his knee. Kyler Murray. Now he's in Minnesota taking over for a quarterback tore his knee. And the thing about it, I watched the press conference. The locker room, and coach was like, "This man didn't take a snap in practice. He doesn't know the player's name. He didn't even expect to play, and he went in there and won a game for us." That's that brain.
It's impressive, dude.
Yeah,
no doubt, it's impressive.
Yeah, shouts out to him.
I
look at the video of Kirk Cousins throwing passes to his son. Why he's laying in his little chair in the garage. And I was like,
Kirk Cousins is a great guy, dude.
Great guy. So,
hard guy not to root for.
Yeah.
And
I'm a Josh Dobbs fan.
He's another guy that's hard not to root for because he's a subject of a lot of ridicule and saying that he just ain't that good. But the reality is he does have a victory over the Dallas Cowboys. He should have had a victory over the Giants if his defense didn't implode. And you barely have time to get your feet wet replacing the franchise quarterback, and you go out and win a statement game against a team that they're going to be vying for playoff position.
Plays in the huddle.
He's like, I got it. That's
That's
crazy, man. That's crazy. In fact, someone else started the game. They got hurt right out the gate. And Josh out, get in there, win us a game. And he did it, man. There was people in Cleveland saying how they were mad that Cleveland let him go. I don't know how long his career lasts, but he's gonna make a lot of money. Just being a mercenary. Come in and do what you gotta do, man.
No, real talk. So it's pretty wild, man. It is pretty wild when you think about like the stories, because we see these stories happen all the time. Guys that were recycled, guys that were not thought to be good enough. The greatest undrafted player in NFL history, in my opinion, is Kurt Warner.
Yeah.
And that's a dude that legitimately just got passed over. Our greatest receiver in terms of a single season record, Victor Cruz. We saw what he did.
Passed over. He
wasn't drafted. I mean, shoot, that was during the lockout. Him and Eli Manning were throwing footballs in local high schools. Can you imagine being a resident in Patterson? And seeing Super Bowl MVP throwing footballs with the local kid. That's amazing. If they were ever going to do a football story about somebody that's worth watching, Victor Cruz checks off all the boxes.
Like Kurt Warner.
He was
bagging.
Very much so. It's a very similar story.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, man.
I'm happy for the kid. My brother was a Vikings fan. That's one of them teams I never hated. I grew up looking at. Purple People Eaters, Alan Page, Marshall. Tarkington. Performing. It's,
buddy.
yeah. I'm happy for
I'm
him.
happy for him.
Got to make a short mention, but not too long.
Mhm.
Packers break a month-long slide. Bears still can't get a much-needed win. Bajent 17 has still shown me more than Justin Fields this year, and the Bears did show up and actually play a competitive football game. The better team won. Packers break month-long slide. The Rams are decimated. Their quarterback situation after former Super Bowl MVP Matthew Stafford is very bleak. Having said that, I don't think the Rams' immediate future is as dark as others might believe. As the Packers go, I'm not going to take too much away from it. I still think there's a legitimate thickness of heat between head coach Matt LaFleur along with first-year starter Jordan Love. I think that could be an intriguing one as the season moves along and as just the whole football structure moves along. Because in football, even in the offseason, they're always working.
Yeah,
I agree.
Okay. My final thoughts to come, but I do want to hit on this before we get out of here. CJ Stroud, bro. This was Madden-type stuff yesterday.
Yeah.
Against a pretty good Buccaneer defense. The Buccaneers still have some holdovers from that Super Bowl team. I myself picked the the Bucs to win a close one. And how about backup running back
Yeah.
Dar Agbanwali? I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Don't ask.
I hope I spelled that pronounced that correctly. I did watch the video a couple of times.
Yeah, I watched it.
But
I
my
watched
God,
it.
you talk about galvanizing a team.
Yeah.
You lose one of the most reliable kickers in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You have a talented, athletic player who predominantly has been reduced to being special teams and maybe a spot guy if Pierce, if Singletary need a blow. And this dude comes out of nowhere and kicks you a field goal because he was their emergency kicker.
Yep.
The first time since 2004 that a non-kicking player by position has done that feat. Super impressive.
Yeah.
And when you saw how happy those guys were for him, and it just goes to show you, man, every person on a roster counts because you never know when you might get called on to do something special.
You know what? I was watching that game. And, he went out there. I was like, what? He went out there.
That's it.
He nailed it.
And it looked like he was rather comfortable.
Yeah. But you know what? In that game,
He was like, yo, y'all don't got to sign a kicker if Kaimi isn't back next week. I got this.
let him get them reps.
That was a feel-good moment as a fan, bro.
Stroud showed out. He stayed confident. I watched that. And hats off to Baker Mayfield because he took him downfield for the winning drive. Stroud took him right back down the field.
It was a classic quarterback matchup. And these are not the names that you would attach to this, at least not in Baker Mayfield's case. I think a lot of people know that Stroud's a legitimate blue chipper at this point. But that's the kind of stuff that I got used to seeing in like the 90s with like a Marino and a Kelly. Or like in the 2000s with like a Peyton and a Rivers or a Peyton and a Brady. But when you consider what they did today, yesterday truly remarkable.
I see Stroud as like Watson, maybe not as athletic and shifty, but he's bigger. He can take more punishment.
Indeed.
He got a hell of an arm, man.
My final thoughts before we get out of here. By the way, D'Amico Ryan's doing a great job with that program. The Jets can win the Super Bowl if Aaron Rodgers returns. Giants can possibly fire Brian Dable. Cowboys loss builds them some good confidence. I define that as a character-defining loss where they feel a little better about themselves. Dolphins need to get home field advantage to get to the bowl. Bill Belichick might get fired. Daniel Jones is done in New York. Mac Jones is done in New England.
I agree with everything.
And one last one that I didn't type in. A man that I respect greatly, a man that won a Super Bowl with your cousin, Riverboat Ron Rivera, one of the best guys in the league. I do believe, even in victory recently, if they run into a tough month of November leading into December, Eric Bieniemy is going to become a new head coach.
I agree.
And this
I
is the
think
last time I'm saying
Eric Bieniemy is a new coach.
Yeah, in waiting for sure. It's kind of how I feel about Mattingly in Toronto if we flip it to baseball.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, guys, please make it a point to like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. It has truly been a pleasure bringing you the goods of an action-packed Week 9 in the NFL. It's the midway point, and this is the time of the year where certain teams are starting to press as true contenders and separate themselves from the pack. Got one more comment flying in.
I got a comment.
I got a comment too.
Yeah, go ahead, Idris. The floor is yours.
If you are watching
Keith Woolridge,
there's no beef between us. Trash talking, situations that happen. You're a good guy. So whatever happened, it had nothing to do with you, nor Sylvia. So I'm just letting you guys know. It's just some other things that went on. Y'all good people.
I appreciate that, Idris. I think it's always cool to kind of fan the flames if we have some miscommunication or whatever have you. Shout out NFC Beast. Thank you so much for always supporting us, as well as the many places that have been supporting us, giving us a chance to do what we do. It's tank mode for us, guys. I'm not going to be one of them cats that shows up with a brown paper bag and with eyes and mouth openings. That I won't do. But my God, some of the Giant fans that are old enough to remember the Joe Pisarcik days, not me, so to speak. I remember more of the dark era of the Danny Cannells and the Kent Grahams and the Dave Browns. Let me tell you something. Brian Dable could potentially lose his job if he loses this locker room.
Yep.
And that is the one thing that could get him going. I know from a financial standpoint and from a hopeful standpoint, the New York Giants brass wants this to work out. They made a massive investment in him.
Fans, they're not selling the team. The Maras are not selling the team. I don't know if you see
that. They never getting out of the way at MSG. It just ain't going to happen.
No.
How about my New York Rangers, though? Finally suffered they did suffer an overtime defeat the other night.
Yeah.
But I got to say, I don't think Dable's on the hot seat, fellas. That's according to our friend of the show, contributor to the show, Ryan Shedd. Not right now, Shedd. And I do think that he built some credibility by getting them into the playoffs last year. But like I said, I didn't think Joe Judge was going to get fired. I thought they were going to give, just knowing how much money they had on the table that they left. Now he was able to repatch his little New England logo because he never.
Yeah.
Don't get me started, bro. Gettleman, Judge, they both came with ulterior motives because let's not forget where they came from. One guy by birth and one guy by employment. I'm going to get off this.
Yeah.
For Idris, I am Richie. Thank you so much for watching. And look for us midweek for our Week 10 NFL preview. I'm going to give you one spoiler alert in advance. I will not be picking the New York Football Giants for the upset in AT&T.
No.
That's it.
Have a great day, everyone. Have a great Monday, an even better week. And I hope it's prosperous. Just make sure that whatever you're doing, you're making it worth something. Okay. Until next time. Yeah.